It's morning here on the Cactus Atlas, and we're heading out for the first exciting adventure on a several-day trip. We've overlooked Sedona for years, as it feels almost like our backyard. But today we take on one of the best off-roading trails one can imagine, Schnebly Hill Road. So hop aboard as we're about to take off. You can see here this morning, got puddles and a little bit of muddy conditions and predicting a very rough road. I've done some route studies, so I think that's going to be true the further along we go. But essentially we're taking a historic road that follows a historic cattle trail down into Sedona, Arizona. And I am shivering this morning. It is cold. It's like 40 degrees right now. So where I came from in Phoenix, of course, it's warmer. And I'm an idiot and wearing shorts, but I'm expecting it to warm up as the sun comes up. But yeah, they had a lot of rain and a little bit of snow up in the Flagstaff area last night. It's mid-April 2026. And I thought, let's kick off this trip with a beautiful drive, hopefully, albeit I'm predicting a rough one. So I'll tell you more about it in the car, or the truck. I always say car, I mean truck. My truck being Slim, of course. Hey Slim, good morning. You cold?
Nah.
No, you're not cold. You can take it, but I'm the wimp here. So anyway, Slim and I need to get on the road here and got some driving to do. So let's get into this, and hopefully, Slim, you're gonna get dirty today, so I know you don't mind.
Bring it on.
But yeah, I'm shivering, so I'm sure the camera's shaking here. Okay, what do you guys say? Shall we take the Schnebly Hill Road down into Sedona? I'll explain here a little bit along the way what I'm expecting today. Oh, in fact, and I'm gonna do something here. We're gonna shift this into four-wheel drive right now. Gonna use the old four-wheel auto in my Chevy ZR2 to start. And if conditions get worse, we'll consider other four-wheel drive options. I think for now, though, I'm expecting a little bit of puddly, rough road. Rough being, I think, the theme today, if I've read and did my studies carefully. What do I mean? Well, let me explain to you what I mean as we get started here. We're gonna just do this slowly, I think, today, but I expect a good portion of the road is going to look like what you see right here until we start descending, is my guess. I couldn't tell you exactly where it's going to get ugly, but reading Onyx Off-Road, I use Onyx Off-Road to navigate through trails like this or roads like this. I read the initial review by the first person that created the route, and then I read trail reports to see what the current conditions are. And the basics of this one is it's not complicated in terms of like obstacles. Like, there's some little rock gardens they talk about, things like that. But most obstacles, like embedded boulders in the road, it says that any kind of stock 4x4 can easily go around anything you don't want to drive over. But I think it's just going to be really rocky and really rough. Kind of getting the vibe, like the Bloody Basin Road vibes, for those of you know that what I'm talking about. We'll see if it's worse than that or better, but I think that's going to happen as we descend more into Sedona, is my prediction anyway. And so not complicated in terms of maneuvering and things, but just maybe one of those things that will knock the fillings out of your teeth kind of rough road. And that's what we're here to figure out for your entertainment and knowledge. So far, it's a 1 out of 10, I'd say. But anyway, so there is some history that we can discuss today, also associated with this road. But I always love the history, but I think this one's gonna hopefully turn out to be a really nice scenic adventure. We're of course starting here up in the higher elevation, not far from Flagstaff, right off of I-17 was our start. And we're kind of heading, I guess, south, maybe west to southwest, heading back down towards Sedona. We're gonna drop down in elevation and eventually leave the ponderosa pine forest expecting it to turn into like pinyon, juniper pine. And there's a doggy. What you doing out here, doggy? Where's your owner at? I think there might be a residence back there or something, or somebody in a RV. Maybe it's their dog. Anyway, so that's kind of what we're expecting. I'm expecting to see the nice, beautiful red rocks of Sedona as we head on down. Not expecting a lot of slick mud or anything like that. Just more rocky conditions. I just pulled over really quick to consult my notes on the history of the area. So a lot of the names you're going to hear should be familiar to you, because a lot of the roads around here and various points of interest around Flagstaff you've heard of, like a Munns, right? Munns Park. Well, we'll start with that. So there's a guy named Munns. So I think his name was James Munn or Jim Munns. And I want to say he was out here around the 1870s or something like that. Early settler, early Arizona pioneer history. And I think he had a ranch up in what is now Munns Park, right up the road towards Flagstaff, like a modern day recreational park. And this route we're taking today was originally his. And I think we're going to actually be able to see a historic cattle trail that he helped develop in the 1800s to run cattle in and out of the Sedona area. So this whole thing we're doing has roots in that. Now, later on, there was funding. I think a J.J. Thompson was the name that I read. Got funding to start this road we're on today. And then, of course, a guy named Carl Schnebly. I think Carl's his middle name, actually. And this would have taken us, Theodore Carlton Schnebly. I want to say the husband of Sedona Schnebly, the lady who the town of Sedona is named after, helped develop this more modern route to help get goods in and out of Sedona. And it pretty much follows most of that historic cattle trail, which today I believe the cattle trail is often used for foot traffic and people that want to hike the red rocks down in the Sedona area without driving this crazy rough road. According to Arizona Highways magazine, I read one of their articles about this. I'll tell you a little bit more about the road in a second, but needless to say, everything I've read is a strong no-go for passenger vehicles or two-wheel drive. Everything I read advises you want four-wheel drive and you want high clearance especially. And what's that? Is that a turkey? See that? Crossing the road up there? First wildlife sighting of the day. I think that might be a turkey. Yep. Pretty sure that's a wild turkey. That's cool. Maybe is it a turkey? That's a weird looking turkey if it is. It's the size of a turkey. Maybe I'm the only turkey out here this morning. So anyway, the way it's really portrayed is it's just really rocky. And I don't know, it's actually a Tuesday also. So I don't know if we're gonna run into a lot of tourists and things out in Sedona. Sedona's weird like that. Like if you come out in the summer months when it's warmer, sometimes it could be a ghost town. And in other times, there are just legendary traffic jams and hordes of people. But my prediction is if we do see a lot, we saw a couple side-by-sides as I was staging and getting ready for our drive already. And then I predict we're gonna see a lot of those Jeep tours, like the pink Jeep tours and stuff. I'd be very surprised if they don't come up this thing, because my understanding is this might be the most or one of the most scenic dirt road drives you can do in the Sedona area. The overall journey also is not that long, I don't think, in terms of mileage. I want to say it's 11 miles long, what we're doing today. But 11 miles long when you're going to be driving really slow most of the time, obviously can take you a couple hours depending on how slowly you actually want to drive things or need to. So far I'm probably averaging about 15 miles an hour going through here. admittedly driving slower than I probably need to, but I'm here to enjoy this and to relax as much as I can. And so far, it's a beautiful drive. I love driving through the ponderosa pine forests of northern Arizona. My favorite thing to do. There's a couple like reservoirs and dams out here. What is that here? Foxborough Lake Dam. I'm not gonna stop just yet because it's cold out there. I think I already said that. Gonna just enjoy this for now from the warmth of Slim. All right, we're actually slipping and sliding now. This area down here is pretty muddy, and the road was really hard packed before, but now it's like the truck is actually sliding from side to side. Nothing concerning or anything like that, but I've already can see we've got quite a little bit of a mess on Mr. Slim. Got mud all over the windows, so we look like proper verified off-roaders now, or dirt roaders. The badge of honor. I suspect throughout the day he's gonna get a good mudding today. But already, you can just feel how the truck is handling. It's no more slippage right there. There was just a little section back there that definitely was swaying back and forth at a very low speed too. I'm not going fast. And now it's rough again. But the truck's designed for this kind of stuff, so I am not that concerned at all. Might have to use a different... Whoa, shite. That's not cool. You see that? We're gonna have to be really careful here. I mean, there's no shelf or anything like that right now, so I'm not too worried about it, but that just goes to show you that you can completely lose control. And I do feel like we're actually slowly descending all of a sudden, so we'll just keep on pushing and see. And we'll just go really slow. I guess the worst that could happen is we'll get stuck in mud, which I would think would take a little bit of doing for a vehicle like this. And if that ever happens to me, I guess then I've got food and water, so I guess you wait for things to dry out. And it's not funny, but you're starting to see actually the Sedona, the orangey looking cliffs straight ahead. Look at that. Look at that. This is what I came here for, and it's already way cooler than I thought it would be. In fact, so nice that we're gonna pull over here. Look at that scene out there, guys. That is heavenly looking this morning with those low-lying clouds, the leftover remnants of the rains that we got last night. Wow. So this road is gonna take us straight down into that area, like really close up on those rocks is my understanding. So, and as we get further and further down, I can definitely tell we're starting the descent for sure now, and I'm expecting it to be pretty much downhill direction, a descent going from here to the end. And then over there, you even have more beautiful rocks to take a look at too. I did bring my drone also on this trip, and I do intend, I think when we get a little bit, there's a vista I want to see. I'm waiting for that to get airborne. But to be clear, I am in the Coconino National Forest. We're not in like areas of Sedona where they have no drone zones posted in the city itself. National forests typically are completely free to fly a drone unless there's some kind of controlled airspace and you need authorization or something like that. But we should be clear for takeoff, which is another reason why I was interested in doing this route is, you know, I follow the rules. So I know a lot of people fly drones, you know, down by Bell Rock and all those areas where I think technically the city does have a right, I think, to prohibit that. I just saw some animal. Oh yeah, look, there's deer. I don't think you're gonna be able to see them, but there was a couple deer that walked up that ways. So there's wildlife here for sure. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, we were talking about drones and flying. So yeah, doing that in Sedona. I'm hoping we get good views so I can get some really sweet footage. But anyway, let's continue. I'm excited to get down there. The only thing that's kind of a pain, I guess, is really, you know, walking around in all this mud. Wasn't planning on that, so I'm not trying to get my truck to be a muddy mess on the inside, because I got several days I'm on the road here and I got a lot of electronics and stuff like that, but there are some rocks that I can wipe my feet off on actually before I get in to minimize the mud. Anyway, Slim, what a mess. I know that's nothing, but you guys keep an eye out, okay, for wildlife, and I'll try to minimize the equipment noise here shaking in my truck. I would say so far, though, the road is not quite as rocky and ugly as I think it's, you know, was going to be. I know, I mean, seeing the pictures, I know it's going to get pretty bad at some point in terms of the rocks and embedded boulders and things like that. But I was expecting longer stretches of that than we've encountered, because we haven't really encountered any of that. The mud, slick mud, has been the hazard of the day so far. But now the sun's out, though. I like that. Yeah, here we go. You could see the road starting to look more like what I was expecting, more like a proper historic bumpy road that I'm more accustomed to driving here. At least I'm not dealing with like really steep drop-offs and shelves. No more north side of Mount Ord. Tell you what, I'll probably be referring back to that episode if you for a long time to come, for those of you that know what I'm talking about. All right, well, there's a good lesson to learn. I feel bad. There's a gentleman. He's in a like Class C, I think, sized, one of those Mercedes. Actually, if you guys watch Russ with RV or TV, who I'm going to get to meet on this trip, actually, story for a different time, looks like what he drives. If you're familiar with that show, very similar thing. This guy, they came here to camp last night. There's a dispersed campsite right off the road, and he's stuck. So, and he says there's 4-wheel drive in that, or all-wheel drive. All 4 tires are stuck. So he's gonna have to call for a tow. And I didn't bring my recovery cables with me, which, like, that's something I just realized now. I almost always have that with me down here, but I cleaned my truck out to rearrange stuff, and they're in my garage. So I feel horrible, because I might have been able to help him get out of there, but he has Starlink, so he's gonna arrange for a tow. But yeah, you could see, like, getting in here, not a problem. He says that's the slickest mud he's ever seen in his life. Yeah, so he's stuck. You know, I just feel really bad about that. I mean, he's fine. He's gonna be fine. But I don't like, just other people's misfortune makes me feel bad. I want to help. There's nothing I could do other than just sit there and give him solace, I guess. But I mean, I think you're gonna have a lot of people coming down this way. But what are you gonna do? Like he and I parted ways on good terms, so I wished him luck, and all we can really do. So what I came to stop here to do is to check this out, the Schnebly Hill Vista. There's probably a pin on it on Google Maps if you wanted to see where I'm at. I certainly put a pin on Onyx Off-Road. So we're gonna get really good views looking that way. But before we do, this is really what I was expecting the road to be like for a good portion of it, and it appears it will be. So you could see there's your embedded boulders. I guess you can call them boulders. I don't know. I don't know when a rock turns into a boulder in terms of size, but basically it's very navigable according to people's things. If you don't want to drive over one, you can see there's plenty of room to get around. And if we look down this ways, you could see the road going down and hugging the side of that. I don't really see where it goes beyond that though. Let's go down a little bit further and see if we can see. Wow, we are high up on these cliffs. Look at that down below, like, or how high up we are actually. That wind is very cold. It's got a biting cold in it. But there's your Sedona area. You could actually see the town down below too. You could see all of, like, you know, a lot of residential down there, probably some commercial. And up here, I just hear the wind. Frigid. And you could see the road. From here, the road looks dry. It looks like a lighter shade of brown to me, but that just could be an illusion of my mind. And then once it goes down there, I don't know where it's gonna go. I'm gonna guess it's gonna hang a sharp left around that feature, not go like around it, because I don't see a shelf road going down there, but it does turn into a shelf road. So that would be my biggest worry, is if you do run into that peanut buttery mud and you slip and slide. I don't want to slip and slide right off the road, but so far I don't see evidence of it being that bad where we're at up here. I'm hoping the worst is over when it comes to the mud. But another amazing view of this beautiful area of Arizona, Sedona. All right, you guys ready for this? I think this vista might be a good marker. The line of delineation between, I don't want to call it a rock garden. Some people did on the review. I guess it kind of is, but the start of the bumpy part is what I'm predicting here, right at the vista. And we're just gonna go take it really slow and easy here. Usually if you just go slow and think about what you're doing, I find that you'll oftentimes succeed. I'm gonna come off to the side here because there's some sharp rocks on the right. Oh, great, nice shelf road, my favorite. Oh yeah. So this is exactly the kind of thing I was expecting. Ooh, it got ugly fast, didn't it? It got ugly fast. But yeah, I would say it's, if you read that Onyx review, I'd say this is pretty much, so far you're getting what was advertised. Imagine driving cattle, or even in a later time in the 30s or whenever it was, in old-timey vehicles, hauling stuff in and out on these kinds of roads with that technology back then, and that'd be a good time, wouldn't it? I guess if you're a thrill seeker, you'd be in the right line of work if you lived back then and had to do that. We're coming down in the bottom of like a little wash area. This is where you could have, I'm not expecting washed out road on something well traveled like this necessarily, but if you're gonna have a problem, it's sections like this. This is Kasner Canyon down here. But gotta keep in mind, Mr. Slim here, my truck, is a stock 4x4. The ZR2 does get a factory lift, as I've mentioned on the show many times. I think I've got about 10 inches of clearance is what Slim's got. There's our big boulder right under me there. I assume you guys are enjoying the views, right? My eyes are on the road, not on the distance. I just kind of looked up for a second and realized the beauty that's going right by us here. I don't know why I always like to start with these like I always pick the thing that I think is going to be the most, you know, really chilled out scenic thing to start my trips these days, and it ends up being the most thrilling of all things. So I guess it's a good way to supercharge your system and get your brain going. Good old times. Yeah, this is, I would say it's rockier than I even thought it was gonna be. For longer durations anyway. I thought you'd have like, it'd be more patchy, is kind of what I was expecting, but I'd say it's consistently rocky the whole time. I might do some quick map consultation just to have an idea of where we're at and how much further we got. So I was looking at Onyx closer on my phone, and I'd say we are, if we wanted to talk about the overall route from where I started on the highway, I would say we're over halfway through this thing. But in terms of this section, I would say we're not halfway through, like this part. And I don't know how rough it's gonna be for how long, but so overall time and the whole route, I couldn't tell you if we've hit a halfway point or not. It's really gonna depend on how rough this thing continues, or if it gets better or worse, I don't know. Or stays, even if it stays the same. You know, I'm going about 5 miles an hour or less right now, 3 miles an hour through this section. And you can see here I'm kind of going from left to right just to avoid some of the major obstacles. I see a place where we can maybe pull over actually and get some more good views of Sedona and kind of bring it all in home back to what we came out here for. You can see he's crawling up it pretty slowly. He's got a Jeep Gladiator. And then here's Mr. Slim. He hasn't gotten any dirtier, I would say. That's all from way up top. I love this. I mean, this is beautiful. I would say my fear of mud, slick mud at this point has dissipated. In fact, I mean, the ground's already if it was really muddy, it's already pretty, I'm not saying it's like bone dry and dusty, but it's definitely not bad. Let's maybe scout a little bit. I'm gonna go up the corner here and take a look at the road. And let me show you here on foot what we're dealing with. So it's pretty much just a lot of this, like these really big boulders. Like that's that kind of thing here. I mean, that's probably a good foot or more in height. Like if I were to drive up and over that, I could in slim, but I'm really risking bottoming out on even something like that with slim. So I don't take chances. But you could see this is really the gist of it, what we're dealing with. And I just kind of like to get a little sneak peek. I don't know if we've passed the worst parts yet or if the worst part is yet to come, but clearly that Jeep made it up here. Not too dissimilar a vehicle or wheelbase from what I have, so it's good to see that. But so far this looks like more of the same. I don't see anything too bad. There's a really sharp turn up there that we're gonna have to make, it looks like, and I don't know where the road actually goes, right? I was saying earlier, I don't see the road cut into these rocks over here, so I'm guessing it's gonna go off in between. But I'd say we're about halfway down in elevation from where we started up there. But still, we got more to do, more work to do. One remark I would say that I have is that I was expecting to not see the red rock landscapes as much as we do. I thought it would be like kind of more towards the end, you'd get up close and personal with them, which I think we will. But I thought it would be a little bit more wooded, more obstructive views than we've been having coming down here. So I would say that's a big plus. And overall, I would say it's, I would say it's a little bit more hair raising for me anyway than the stuff that I usually like. I like the 1 out of 10s. I like the old, mining roads. I did one the other day called the Big Eye Mine down in Yuma in the Kofa. That's a perfect, that really represents for me perfection when it comes to dirt road driving. I mean, a couple washes and, some ruts, but nothing too bad. I'm not a huge fan of the rock gardens in general. Not really my favorite. Just because I don't have big tires. I have, what are they, 29s, I think? Whatever came with the ZR2. I'm not riding on I couldn't even put 33s on this without modifying the truck. I'm kind of a purist. I kind of want to just leave it in its stock form. So sometimes I think people give me a little bit of a hard time on things like this, but I'm telling you, when you've driven it and you know the limitations of your vehicle, I mean, and you don't want to completely wreck it, I would forgive someone else for having slight concerns. Trying to keep my eyes a little bit down road from here just to try to spy other vehicles coming up. I should have mentioned this earlier. If you read the Onyx off-road guide or review, the recommendation is to take this in the direction that we're doing it, I think, for the views, because if you were going the other way, all of your red rock views are going to be to your back, when you get to this point. So I could totally see that. So not sure how many people actually are going to come up, turn around, go back down, or drive up to I-17, but I would imagine more will go this direction as opposed to coming up the hill like that Jeep was. Or coming down to some orangey looking dirt, which is where I worry more about the mud reappearing. But it looks like it might just be that red sandstone coming up here. And we got a little bit of a drop off, but looks like there's enough of an angle to it that we can do this okay, I think. Oh, caught something on the wheel, on the tire. Up. We got more rocky coming up. More rocky coming up. I think I want to actually stay off to the left for this next section. And the hills are covered in beautiful green vegetation. Rocky Road? Rocky Road? Fun times, my man, fun times. Looks a little bit more muddy here, actually. This little spot down here, the water must run. I don't feel slippage at the moment. Feeling pretty good about it. Yeah, I think the road's doing exactly what I thought it was going to. You see, we're kind of coming beyond these red rocks and then up and out. I think this might be a safe enough place to pull over for a quick view before someone comes down that trail. We'll give you another quick look at the road here from on foot. As you can see, it just continues to just be rocky. And you're seeing some of these really nice red rock features now starting to creep up more closely as we descend. And I should probably, oh yeah, if someone comes through here, I did not put them in a bad situation. I think getting off around me is no problem and the road's fine. So I feel good about that. But look at that. What a beautiful sight this is. Now I do like the darker red colored sandstone features in general, but I also love in Sedona and Oak Creek Canyon, which I'm going to be driving up that later. Probably not making a video, but those of you that know it, you get a lot of that kind of orangey tan color to go with it. But you definitely in the heart of Sedona, it's more like this here. See some vehicle down there, trying to discern if they're coming uphill. I think they are. I see a reflection in the window. So if you've not done this sort of thing, you know, I like to have awareness. I like to try to get that kind of intel as soon as possible. So if I know we're coming up on somebody, I can think of a place to pull over potentially and let people go. I'm Captain Safety over here if you haven't figured it out. Captain Safety-ish. I would have brought my recovery cables if I was truly Captain Safety and not forgotten those, but I'm doing my best. I know I probably annoy the heck out of some, you know, people that do this a lot, you know, off-roaders, dirt roaders. Most people are cool. Some criticize me for being too worried or too cautious. But I'll just say this, I haven't had any major issues. I haven't had, as they say in this line of work, I haven't had my bad day yet, and I aim to keep it that way. So I do try to actually approach these types of things kind of like how you're trained when I took a drone course to pass my FAA exam to get certified for flying a drone. And one thing that you have to study and they test you on are the different like destructive personalities for flying and being a pilot. Things like machismo. I hear a noise, but I think it's a plane. Machismo, rushing through things thinking you're invincible. Like, those are the things they train pilots to be very wary of and to identify those types of behaviors as soon as possible and correct them, because that's how people die. So I try to apply some of that thinking often as I'm navigating some of these roads. So I think it would serve people well to have that mentality. Oh yeah, it's just a bunch of planes. All right, I am back in the warmth of the vehicle. It's actually nice and toasty in here. I think there's a boulder right underneath my tire. Trying to stay to the left of it. Yeah, the back got up and over it. See, that's why I don't like to do that. But I can't really see the edge of the road well enough to be brave enough to stay that close to the shelf. Although the road's a lot easier to navigate, I'd say, on the right side. Although that's changing, so let's head over to the left. But yeah, that was actually a fantastic little spot to fly that drone, I would say. That was I would say, like, if it comes out as good as it looked like on my remote as I was flying and the footage came out okay, that might be the win the award for the most scenic flight of the year so far. Although it's early in 2026, but I see vehicles actually coming up the road here, so I'm going to maybe wait for him to pass. So I'm gonna stay on my side of the road now. Some deep mud right here. I could see the shine of a truck. I'll tell you what else I saw in a second, but this is a pretty wide little spot, so we're gonna be patient. I'm not really in a rush today. But anyway, yeah, as I was flying, I was kind of looking down below, and I do see vehicles. There's like a dirt road down there. It doesn't look rocky. It just looks like that orangish colored looking dirt. And I'm pretty sure I saw a pink Jeep, the pink Jeep tours that many of you are probably familiar with in Sedona. Looks like it came up that road and then turned around and went back. So I'm guessing, I haven't ever done one of those, so I don't know how rough they like to get. I know people are kind of sitting out in the open, kind of in the back with like an awning over them in those things. So I imagine it could get pretty bumpy and swayy on something like this. So for the general public, I don't know if they're that adventurous or come up this far. Yeah, here comes another Jeep. There might be a couple more vehicles coming up this way, so we're gonna let at least that one pass. And although the road looks plenty wide, even as far as I could see, so I think we could probably navigate past each other, but we'll just play it safe. Oh, I see another vehicle coming up now. Why is everybody going the opposite direction, guys? It should be going downhill. You're missing the best stuff, I'd say. Some people are just not that friendly. The guy just kind of looked grumpy and didn't wave. The lady was nice though. She was happy and smiling and waving. Good Jeep road though. It's good for that type of vehicle. Oh, nice. Yeah, you got to see the view, the drone's eye view of this coming down. Unfortunately, we don't really we're not looking at it head on yet. Oh, there's one of our pink Jeeps. So if you didn't know what a pink Jeep was, you're like, what is he talking about, pink Jeep? You're about to see what I'm talking about. I'm wondering if this is the pinnacle of where they go to, because they're not facing the road. It's like they're gonna turn around and bring people up here for pictures. So that makes me wonder, is the road gonna get better past this point? Looks like there's a gate up here too. So there you go. I've never done one of those tours. I have family members that have done them. Everybody that I've known that have ridden these things have a great time. So if you don't have a vehicle like we do, or a Jeep or something like that, and you want to experience driving on roads like this, I would say that would be a very fantastic option for you. to consider, but you could see how it's like, open in the back. I'm guessing that you're buckled in, but you're sitting sideways, so that could get a little seasick. But maybe this would be a good starter. Like if you are gonna, be someone that wants to do more adventurous kind of off-roading, and I could see some might consider this like a beginner's guide to riding on that sort of terrain. But if you're in a stock 4x4 like this and you want to get a little taste of that, this is perfect. I would say perfect for your needs. So we were on the other side of all that, I think up there where we got the drone up a little earlier. And now we're kind of more like getting a side view of that beautiful red rock wonderland that is Sedona. I think I hear a four-wheeler or dirt bike, or maybe a side-by-side somewhere coming through. But you could see we're coming up closer on those really tall, orangey cliffs now here on Schnebly Hill Road. It's another Jeep, actually, not a side-by-side. Another Gladiator. Why all coming up this way? That is nice. That's like the third Jeep right now, isn't it? All going up. So now I guess if you're gonna start low, go up and then come back down to enjoy the view, cool. But I really think you're gonna have a much enjoyable time doing what I'm doing. Like kind of the recommendation that I read, the east to west approach. Not that it's anything to sneeze at. I mean, come on, it's beautiful no matter what, up or down, but I don't know, I just like, I always think on video it looks better when you're traveling down a scenic road like this than going upward for some reason. But yeah, kind of looking down towards Sedona again. Side by side. So I think my thought is people like that probably have the easier time, much smaller, easier to navigate through tight corners and stuff compared to a pickup truck, even something small like Slim here. I can't afford that myself. I'm not going to have a four-wheel drive pickup truck and that at this point in my life, but there have been some roads where I would have gladly traded, yes, Slim, I know I'm saying this, but I would have gladly traded Slim for something like that. I might have made it up Mount Ord on some of those really tight corners with something. I would have made it up Mount Ord if I had something like this, I should say, where Slim, you got a big butt, even for a small truck. Another pink Jeep for you. I have a feeling the award-winning views from the vehicle are about to happen. We're coming down now lower than the red rocks, so the red rocks are gonna start, hopefully being above us or look higher or taller. I almost wonder if this is where the pink Jeep tour stopped. But this is kind of what I was thinking this was gonna, it's almost just like what I thought it was gonna be for once in terms of the scenery. This is, the people that took photos online did a good job. Not much of a different view from what we've already seen when we've stopped so far. In fact, I probably want to actually head off to the left here because that was pretty rocky off to the right where I was heading. But yeah, this part I'm thinking is really going to be nice because we're facing it for once and it's not out the side window the whole time. And now we're actually, if you kind of bring your attention up on the hillside, you might be able to catch the road we came down way up there. see another traveler down this ways. Side by side. Guess they're turning around. I never passed them, so I guess they came up this far and decided to go back, or maybe they camped. Oh, once again, I don't know if you can camp out this ways, but there's another Jeep over here. I bet you there's a trailhead. Yep, there's some trailhead right here, so I'm guessing people drive up here to hike whatever trail it is. It doesn't say. Well, there it is. See something called the Cow Pies Trail. So right there, the Cow Pies. What a name for a trail. I wonder if because there really are cow pies, since they have free-ranging cattle in areas like this, you would expect it. All right, this looks like a nice pullout, custom made for me today. More fantastic Sedona views for you. Straight ahead. How do you like that? Look at this, we hit the hour of the pink Jeep, dude. It is just one after another now. You know what, maybe I'd regret it if I didn't. I think I'm gonna take one more quick flight here. It's a big pothole in the sandstone right there. We'll get out, look at this, and then, because we're getting, I'd say we're gonna turn, we're gonna go off to the right really sharp, and I don't know, maybe another less than a mile is my guess. And then we should be at my official stopping point, and pretty much ends right at the pavement. All right, I'm standing here in the middle of the road, and So those are some of the red rocks that we flew and got some really good views from a little bit higher above. And we kind of were looking off this way. Too far down now to see it, but it's this scene over here that I thought was really kind of pretty. All these really craggly red peaks that we couldn't really see earlier. So that's why I'm thinking this might be our last and worthy spot before we get too close to town to get airborne one last time. And I guess there was a lot of traffic there for a while, and now it just kind of disappeared all of a sudden. But, you know, look at that, man. That is... I just love Sedona. I think it's the red rocks, which I always love, but there's all the pinyon pine and juniper type pines, the shorter ones, growing all up against the rocks. So it's that really deep evergreen color with the red that it just really pops, and it's just such a unique and beautiful thing. And then here's Mr. Slim. I almost wonder if I should try to set up a thumbnail here with Slim and I in the picture. I mean, we came from the top of that, you know, we were up on that plateau. I think, isn't that the end of the Colorado Plateau technically, coming off the Mogollon Rim into this? Is that essentially what I've done? I want to say I read that somewhere. When I think of the Mogollon Rim, I think of Payson, but I think the plateau, this is kind of the end, and that's part of the geological explanation for why this got carved out and even exists. Not a single flight today has disappointed me. I would say every flight today has been wonderful. And make sure I got everything packed up correctly. I do. Every flight has been wonderful. I actually have done every flight today up until this last one on one battery actually for my drone, which seems odd. Usually those things drain faster. I don't know if it's because it's nice and cool out there. That's my hypothesis, is the air is nice and cool and the batteries are not draining, or the thing's not getting as hot. I could be wrong about that. Maybe cold would make it worse. Who knows? But anyway, back on the road here. Looks like a couple fun little spots. It's like now we're kind of driving more on that sandstone, it feels like. Flatter, not as rocky, but still, there's some bumps. Dang, what was that got me going there? That was weird. Sometimes the road looks fine and then you end up flying back and forth. I've seen several parties today that just are walking this on foot, so hiking from Sedona. Totally acceptable, I would say, especially if you do not have the proper vehicle to do it. No critique from me on that. I'm just glad people get out and enjoy it any way you can. This is a fantastic little route for anybody. Do whatever you got to do to get out here on it. All right, some more beautiful views, like right in our face here. We saw that from up high just a second ago, a couple minutes ago. Here comes another fast-moving Jeep driver, so I'm gonna let that person go around me if they want. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir. There's a little connector to a trail. I bet you that's the historic wagon trail right over there. All right, let's continue. I'm a slowpoke, I know. But my suspension's probably happier. You know, now that we're kind of creeping up towards the end here, and I'm sensing it, especially because we're like in the landscape now and not looking down on it, I would say this is maybe one of the essential dirt road routes, off pavement routes in the state of Arizona. I mean, this has got to be top 10 material. I would say on the Cactus Atlas, we oftentimes will do an annual top 10 trails of the year. And I could say, you know, I've done several already this year, and this one holds the #1 spot so far. Not saying that something else is not going to knock it out of first place later, but you never know. I got pink Jeep coming up behind me now too. So you know, if the pink Jeep's going to pass me, you know I'm a slowpoke. And I don't mind saying it. And there's your really nice view of Sedona. In fact, I think this is pullover worthy one more time here, to be honest. I don't think I'm gonna fly anymore, but we're gonna pull over. We'll let that pink Jeep pass me if it wants to. And we'll take a look at the well-known Sedona landscape from here. We came down from the clouds, folks. Woo! I like this one. This was fun. This really lets you understand this landscape very well. We'll look at the town in a minute, but yeah, I mean, when you come to Sedona, you gotta get out and explore some. And this is a really good vantage point to understand what we actually just did. You probably can't see it well, but about halfway up that, you actually see the road. I think the road actually does go up that way too. So I think you can see the whole course we did, probably starting at the Vista, if I had to guess, somewhere up there. And it's just a couple switchbacks down, really rocky, bumpy roads. It does get better the further down you go. We can attest to that now. And you just basically come right through this canyon and wind around like the road this way up to where we're at now. And I also could be wrong, but I know, like I said, that cattle trail is supposed to follow the road, and I keep seeing stuff like this. So I don't know, and there's actually hikers coming up it. So a lot of people that want to do this on foot are gonna probably take whatever trail that is. I wanna say it is the Munns Trail. I've seen it on a map. So either we're on the remnants of it and they built over it, or those people down there are actually following the historic trail, which is what my hunch is. So that would have been quite the job to move cattle in and out of this, doing ranching back in the 1800s. And, you know, I'm sure it was hard work, but at least if you're gonna do that hard work, doing it in this scenery, I guess would be better than nothing, right? And then we've got good old Slim looking dirty still. I don't think that's gonna magically clean itself, although the mud's starting to fall off now because it's dried. But now you're looking down into the town proper, down that way. Probably on whatever Cactus Atlas episodes we've ever done. This is my first dirt road excursion in the area, but you could see it's full of residential, resorts, restaurants, gift shops, crystal places, like mystic places, everything that Sedona is known for. To me, I think it's too bad, because I think this really is national park worthy, if you want my honest opinion. This whole area, it's just too bad it was not protected and it became what it did. I think at least national monument, but I would say national park worthy in my opinion. And if not that, a really big state park. Looks like we're gonna be doing a really sharp turn here where those walkers are, those hikers. then it's gonna turn back towards the town, and then, yeah, like that, this last turn, this last corner should be the last little switchback of the trip. Man, this is nice. But I am a little bit over budget on time. This took longer than anticipated, but I didn't want to rush it either. I wanted to get those aerial shots and whatnot. There's a larger size pickup truck making the drive up there, the biggest truck of the day. Alrighty. Let's get around these people. Oh yeah, this should be a nice little spot too to get some cool little views, I'd say. There's more pink Jeep action coming up this way though. It's just such a nice day with the clouds the way they are and just the sun glistening off of those rocks in front of us. Sets the mood for the day in a good way. And it's kind of hoping we'd find a parking spot down here to end it, because we're coming right at the end. I think once we get through this gate, pavement should be very close. And I'm like, what is going on here? There's a trailhead. But I think this actually might be my best bet to tidy this one up, because if you don't know Sedona and trailheads and stuff, finding parking can be a real problem, and they charge for it and all this stuff. So this may be where we're gonna say happy trails. That's gonna be the end of the line on this one. I don't know what else I could really say that you didn't already see. This was magical. I would say a must-do off-road or dirt road adventure if you've got the equipment for it here in Arizona. Primo, amazing, beautiful views the whole time. I loved it. Hope you did too, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.